Hey, y'all. Welcome to CrossPolitic on the Fight Laugh Feast Network. It's good to be with you. I'm the Waterboy. I got a couple guests in the studio today because Toby's pastoring. Pastor Toby's pastoring. He's got a wedding. And Knox is traveling.
Slacker.
So you guys are the plan B. You're the substitutes. So, of course, you guys know N.D. Wilson and former CEO of Daily Wire, Jeremy Boring, joining the show. But former, we shouldn't really call you former CEO anymore. I mean, it's like, because you're the Jeremy Boring show now.
Yeah, it's tough. You know, it's like when you live in the shadow of your former glory.
I mean, co-founder. I wouldn't say like former CEO. So
just say co-founder
of the Daily Wire.
There we go.
Always the co-founder.
Yeah, forever. Co-founder of the Daily Wire. Current.
Nate's always got a good
attraction
spin.
of the Jeremy Boring show.
So before we get to it, a couple of plugs, kind of get down to the business side of things. You know, Jeremy knows all about this. Nate doesn't. Cannon doesn't really do this.
Yeah, we just tie our shoelaces together.
That's it, and trip over as you go. Classical conversations. Are you concerned your children's current education won't give them skills necessary to succeed in any area of life? Consider homeschooling with Classical Conversations. By applying the classical Christian model of education, the Classical Conversations curriculum encourages students in how to learn, how to think for themselves so they can adapt to every challenge life throws at them. Join over 50,000 families in 60 countries who have chosen to educate their children with Classical Conversations by visiting classicalconversations.com/FLF. That's Fight Laugh Feast /FLF. That's classicalconversations.com/FLF. Another one, and then we're into it.
My daughter does Classical Conversations, so I feel like we're already in. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Good there.
Did you put in code CrossPolitic when you went?
Yes.
Yes. There's only one way to answer that question live on the show.
Robert Borton's made him, actually.
Yep, that's right. Let's be clear about something. How you handle your money is not a neutral act. Our monitor's down right now, so I'm reading this. It's not separate from your walk with Christ. It's not exempt from his lordship. If you're a Christian, then everything you have is under the authority of Jesus Christ. And we are commanded to be faithful in all of it. Dominion Wealth strategies exist to help families think biblically and act wisely when it comes to financial stewardship. They offer education and consulting to help Christians align their household economics with long-term Christ-centered post-millennial vision. Ooh, I need to tell Jeremy about that. That's for sure. They provide guidance on areas like budgeting, saving, debt management, life insurance, estate organizations, and developing multi-generational financial vision. Their goal is not to sell products. It's to help you ask the right questions and make informed decisions consistent with your convictions. This isn't about chasing wealth for its own sake. It's about faithfulness. Dominion helps their clients protect what matters and prepare for the future with clarity and conviction. If you're ready to think more intentionally about how to steward the resources God has entrusted you, visit, and this is the best website around right now, reformed.money. www.reformed.money and schedule a complimentary consultation with Dominion Wealth. Great guys. I work with them.
Can we workshop that one a little bit?
They always give me longer plugs because I think they want me to look dumber.
Products?
I think they want me to look dumber. The longer I read, the dumber I look.
Are they not in business?
They are. Yeah.
Their goal's not. It says their goal's not to sell products.
I know. Well,
you're supposed to trust these guys.
It's a.
Our goal is not only to sell products.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a way to work it.
I give you that one for free.
We don't want to sell useless products. Yeah. No, I get it. They're great.
I love Nate. Nate hosts a show called Stories for Soul Food. And actually,
I wouldn't call it a show.
Yes, it's you and Brian.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things is when you guys are like tearing up proposals.
Yeah, we get creative pitches, which
and they'll tear them up on the show, and it's a
little segment called "Make Me Famous," which goes well.
It's a lot of fun and everything. So,
I have a friend in Hollywood named Roderick the Falconer Taylor, and he's.
Did he self-name himself?
He did. He's known as one of the great living poets, actually. But he had huge success in the 70s. He made a bunch of records for Geffen, and then became a really prominent screenwriter. So he's had these 3 incredible acts in his life. But he's a bit of a misanthrope, and he'll say that when people pitch him, because this is what happens when you're a writer, everyone wants to, hey, my son wants to get on the phone.
I have an idea.
It's like, I've had your idea. I am a professional. I've had every idea. There are no ideas that you have that are of any interest to me. I think it's actually true, and it's actually important because ideas aren't worth much.
Mm-hmm.
Everything in life is what you do. Steven Spielberg's not the first guy who had the idea of like, what if we made a movie with dinosaurs? Like that? No, that's not the thing. He made the movie that had the dinosaurs, and he made it to be great. Like everything is an execution.
Yeah. So I mean, I want to start just the first part of the show, just kind of talking about the past. You obviously launched Daily Wire with Ben Shapiro. Was it 2016? Was it 15?
2015.
So I had Ben on the show in 2017, just shortly after you guys launched Daily Wire. We had Ben on, and I asked Ben, I was like, or maybe Toby, I can't remember, but we asked Ben, what do you think about Jesus? So we talked, we let Ben do a shtick on economics and culture and all that stuff. And the last question we asked him was, what do you think about Jesus? And Ben went on for 3 or 4 minutes or something like that, and he said, "But I really appreciate Christians because you guys try to evangelize me and not kill me," kind of thing. That's where he ended. But someone took that clip and clipped it and put it on their own YouTube channel and went all over the place. And back in 2017, going viral was really, man, you want to go viral. And
Gabe was so jealous.
I was like, why didn't no one? They didn't reference the link back to us. They just clipped it. They made it their own thing. I was bummed, but
stolen valor.
But what was interesting was so 2015 you guys launched. Ben probably came on my radar around 2016 ish, so shortly after. And but you've been as part of that journey, like you built one of the largest conservative platforms without like cable TV, the cable platforms, all that stuff with Daily Wire up and then March 2025, let's just cut to the chase. They let you go, or you guys parted ways, or they fired you, or however, whatever. I haven't actually really followed much of your story besides, I followed you in the Boring Show, but when people get fired, I just, or move places and leave, I don't pay much attention. But like, talk a little bit about kind of like that journey all the way to like leaving Daily Wire.
Sure. Well, Ben and I had been working together for many years before we founded the Daily Wire. We had a publication called Truth Revolt at the David Horowitz Freedom Center.
Yeah, I remember. Yep.
For a good bit, and had worked on a lot of projects in the years leading up to that. So we did 1 decade of the Daily Wire, and it's a long time to keep a band together. And we had a lot of hits. There are a lot of pressures when you have hits. We navigated those pressures, I think, extraordinarily well for a decade. But eventually, it's like I said, it's difficult to keep those things going. There are a lot of pressures on you when you're in that sort of a position. We're really proud of what we built, though. We built, I think, the preeminent conservative digital media company of its time. I think that we were ahead of the curve. I think, over the years, we had a handful of good ideas. As I said at the beginning, I think everything's in the execution. We had one idea that doesn't feel profound in retrospect because now everyone has that idea.
Yeah, right.
But we were early to it, which is that social media presented an opportunity to win.
Right.
It presented an opportunity to go around the traditional gatekeepers and get our message out. And we were 18 months ahead of the curve, on that. And we tackled it in a really we tackled it in a very serious way, whereas a lot of our peers in the space didn't have success early on. They got in trouble, they got canceled, they got shadow banned, they got demonetized. And sometimes people will take issue with that. I think Mike Cernovich, who I think is, generally a very fun follow on X because he's kind of iconoclastic and eccentric, and he has ideas that are all over the map and heterodox. And so sometimes he'll have these.
He did buckle a little bit in COVID.
A lot of people buckled a little bit during COVID. A lot of people buckled a little bit during COVID. Yeah. But Cernovich made a point recently, like, the Daily Wire was getting special treatment. And I think Tucker echoed this this last week. The Daily Wire got special treatment from social media, which is nonsense. We were probably the only organization in the conservative world where Facebook would change its algorithm not to penalize conservatives, to penalize us, specifically the Daily Wire, because we were being so successful. And for 18 consecutive months, we were the number one publisher on Earth. On Facebook, it was 15 consecutive, 18 total months.
Okay.
We're the number one publisher in the world on the biggest platform in the world.
Yeah.
And Kara Swisher, Kevin Russo, these guys would write in the New York Times, and they put a lot of pressure on Facebook to do something about it. So Facebook would change its algorithms just to stop us.
Wow.
And they were unsuccessful for a long time. And the reason is because it's not because we had a special relationship with Facebook. It's because we had a special attitude toward Facebook. And it's we were a for-profit company, not a nonprofit, which is what dominates most of the conservative media landscape.
Yep.
And we just believe that you only win by winning. We believe that, in the conservative nonprofit model, you can sometimes win by losing. You can do what I call the lose, gripe, fundraise, repeat
Yep.
kind of mantra. You actually don't want to do well on Facebook because that's hard. You want to be shadow banned on Facebook, so you can
complain about it.
Shadow banned on Facebook. Please send me $20.
Yeah.
But we saw big tech as a problem that could be solved, not as an opportunity to lose and engage in failure theater for money. And now we're not the only ones who did that.
Yeah.
But we built an institution around doing it.
Yep.
I used to have a thing called the 1030 meeting. Every morning I would gather the movers and shakers in my business, the management level or executive level, and I would say, if you blame the algorithm, you're fired. Not because the algorithm isn't actually to blame, not because the algorithm isn't
there's not a problem there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. But your job is to succeed no matter what the platforms do. And we had an attitude about that no one else had. We deployed resources that no one else deployed. We had the biggest team working on that problem. We had lawyers dedicated to nothing but that problem.
Yeah.
We had social media people dedicated to that problem. We spent a significant percentage of our revenue on that problem, and we constantly iterated. We would try. We sort of invented the influencer network before that became a more popular thing 6-7 years later, where we would have other people post our stuff. We would buy channels that we thought could post our stuff. They would make changes, that would go away.
Yeah.
We would engage in paid video marketing. That would work for a while, it would go away. We would engage in paid publishing marketing. That would work for a while, it'd go away.
Yep.
Whatever it was, we were just skating to where the puck's going to be, right? We wanted to win. And I think that one of the problems that exists in right-wing media, but I think sort of exists in right-wing spaces more broadly, not only media, is that there's a defeatist attitude. There's a belief that there is no future, that the world is over. There's a kind of release that we get, a kind of reprieve that we get from having responsibility if
Reprieve
we forfeit
is a good
agency.
word. Yeah.
We want to lose in some tragic way. We want to lose because maybe it proves us right somehow. And I don't buy into that. I've never bought into it. The Daily Wire didn't buy into it. We existed to win.
Yeah.
We fought hard to win. And we won a lot for 10 years. I'm really proud of it.
So Blaze was first in.
Oh, Glenn Beck was ahead of everybody.
He was ahead of everybody. He's first in. But you guys, I think, really developed the first model that actually worked in terms of like really getting revenue in.
Well, Glenn had a fundamental problem with his early business. And I admire Glenn hugely for being the innovator in the space. There's no doubt.
Being first in and spend the money and risk that he took was,
unbelievable. And Glenn is often that guy. He's an innovator. He is definitely a forward thinker, and he puts his money where his mouth is.
Yeah.
His business model was just slightly flawed. The problem with his and he adapted, but the problem with adaptation is sometimes the timing is what really bites you. Glenn's problem at the beginning of the Blaze is that he locked his most valuable asset behind a paywall, which means that Glenn was the most famous he was ever going to be on the day that he started the Blaze. He could only become less famous over time within the context of that early model. Now, of course, he changed that, and that was and they went on to have a lot of success. Tyler Carden's one of the great operators in the conservative media for sure, and a good friend. But that is why Glenn, I think, he had this right idea. There was an opportunity to monetize. Subscriptions were the future. The internet was the future. Social media was the future. But the trap that got him in the earliest days of the Blaze was put the most valuable asset behind the paywall. That does get you the early wave of subscribers, but now how do you get the next wave of subscribers? Because your most important asset now is a diminishing asset, and there's a tension there. How do you take your IP? How do you take your hosts? How do you take your ideas? You get the maximum penetration because that top of funnel has to constantly be growing. So that you can convert more and more people down. I'm going to pull this one off because I'm ashamed to say it. I have very small very high ear holes. You can't make that thing work.
It's the worst.
It's the worst. Yeah. I've been criticized.
Well, at least both your ears work.
He's really just being smug.
I'm the only guy with two ears.
I'm gonna take one out because they both work, and I only need one in my ear.
So I have a couple questions for you. One is, well, you're talking about that 10:30 meeting, that attitude of don't give me your reprieve, don't give me the excuses. What conservatives love a permission slip to have failed.
Yes.
They love to have been persecuted. I had a big moment in late high school with a football coach holding my face mask and just spit flying in my face, my helmet, with him yelling, "Good players don't get held," because I had been held and had thus.
And you're complaining that a coach was held?
My job was outside containment. I gave up outside containment.
Yep.
They scored. I gave up outside containment because somebody was dragging on my jersey.
Yeah.
And so I thought, I'm fine. and the scoreboard didn't care.
That's right.
You know, it didn't care at all.
And coach didn't care.
No, and that moment for me was just like this big dude spitting in my face.
The most toxic idea that exists in the universe is the victim mentality. The victim mentality is always poison, but it is especially poisonous when you have been victimized.
Yeah, and I think it's as old as
reinforces it.
It's as old as sin, because it's from the beginning. We've got Adam being like,
She did it.
The woman you gave,
the woman you gave me.
Everybody's got their little get out of jail free card that turns out don't work. These are invalid. They don't function.
And when reality reinforces your sense of victimhood, then you've created the ultimate inescapable trap. Conservatives are persecuted. The Daily Wire was persecuted.
Exactly.
You were held.
Yeah, exactly.
So what?
So what? It just doesn't matter the outcome. The outcome is what matters there. We want to win. What I'm really curious about, because there were many wins, there's good moments, and it was the Daily Wire's not gone.
No, certainly.
But in those 10 years in which you were having those 10:30 meetings and doing everything you were doing, what are the biggest lessons? So I guarantee everybody else that you have a ton of lessons, some of which you'll probably share and some of which you wouldn't be willing to share.
Yeah.
But the gold.
I want the ones that you aren't willing to share publicly.
But the gold, there's a lot of positive lessons. The gold is in the lessons of 10 years
That's right.
As a veteran commander of, and this might not be fair, but the Blaze to me, I always loved what Glenn was doing. He was trying to go there and what he did, but it felt fundamentally defensive, and the Daily Wire felt fundamentally offensive.
Yeah.
So just in terms of back to football, 3 yard draws and handoffs up the middle, and just lots of collisions and dust, or air raid and attack and go and extreme offense. The Daily Wire was offense. It just felt like offense all the time. And so the thing I am jealous of or crave are all those lessons, all the gold that you got out of the 10 years. The things now, as we look forward to the future, everybody, as you look forward to the future, as we look forward to the future with what we're doing, as conservatives in general involved in media and alt media, look at the future. What are the biggest lessons we all need to be aware of?
Don't fight churn.
Don't fight churn. That's interesting.
Every consultant, every new accounting and finance person, every new executive who's ever come in to the Daily Wire would say, "Oh man, if we could get that churn number down," because what happens for people who don't know,
you get subscribers coming in.
Subscribers, and then every month some of those subscribers fall away.
Yeah,
and some of them fall away because of simple things like dunning. They fall away because their credit card number changes.
Yeah.
You need a strategy for how to go reactivate that person. They didn't intend to walk away.
Yep.
Also, in our business, if you say apple pie is good, then the pecan pie people are pissed and they quit on you. It's just that's an occupational hazard.
Conservatives.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone comes in and they look at a churn number and they go, "Man, you're churning 3%. If we could get that down to 2%, then it'd be so great. Everything would fix. All of our profit margins would go up. Everything would get so much easier." And I would always say that's absurd. The entire idea of fighting churn is premised on the idea that the biggest we could ever be is how big we are today. Mm-hmm. The way that you win, and ultimately even the way that you defeat churn, is to grow. Mm-hmm. Always be growing. Always be growing. If you take a defensive posture towards your audience,
that's the Netflix.
Defensive posture toward your revenue, if you take a defensive posture toward... If you approach your business as though the most important thing is preservation, by the way, this is true of your life too. Yeah. If you approach your personal accounting through preservation instead of through growth, if you approach your family through preservation, if you approach your art or your work through the idea that this is all that there will ever be, then you might slow the decline, but decline is the thing that the actual enterprise that you're engaged in. And we were always focused on growth. And there were times where I would fall victim to it. I say always. That's not fair. There's nothing that we were always.
Yeah.
There's what we always reverted to after trying all the other things and failing. Yeah. That's really what it comes down to.
You're like, wait, we've been fighting churn for a minute. We should go back to offense.
We should actually go win again.
We should do What Is a Woman?
That's right. And then you, instead of preserving 100,000, you now grow to 500,000, right?
And you get some of those back because you did it.
People turned back. Yeah. That's right. So that's
a big churn. Okay. What's another one?
One of the huge lessons. Don't fight churn. Well, the one where he said is don't complain, but do, always move forward. I would say that another really important lesson is that in a missional business, one of the hardest things,
like conservative media,
like conservative,
the mission of being conservative in media.
And I think this also has universal application in your life, in your family. The hardest thing to get right in life is not what priorities to have, it's what order of prioritization in which to place them. Almost all halfway decent people have somewhat similar top priorities, which is what order you put them in.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the very difficult lessons that I learned at the Daily Wire is that whichever one you place as paramount, definitionally, all of the other ones become subordinate to.
Mm-hmm.
And so in a missional business, the business is very important.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot win in a missional business if you don't make more money.
Yeah, right.
You can't win in a missional business if you don't get a bigger audience. You can't win in a missional business if you don't grow your team. You can't win in a missional business if you don't expand and sell more and do more. And yet, if business is the paramount priority, then the mission will always be subordinate. And that means the mission will ultimately lose. And the irony is, in a missional business, it means then that the business will also lose. If you make the business the highest priority, the business will fail. Now, if you don't prioritize the business, the mission will fail.
Yeah.
Of course, that's true.
There's more than one way to die.
There are more. Yes. And in a fallen world, every single good thing also kills you, which is another hard lesson.
Nate, I got a question about that because I think we're all kind of in that genre, missional businesses, CrossPolitic,
Yep.
Canon Plus, Jeremy Boring show, because this is something that I wouldn't say struggled, but I've had to think through a lot on a number of different levels over time because you make decisions that are not going to help your business grow sometimes. Mm-hmm. You release a meme against Joel Webben on.
Well, that only helped.
But how do you?
I'm here.
Yeah. We finally got Jeremy into Sherwood Forest.
Yes, Jeremy's here. Man, help me with that. Like the missional business has been.
I think honestly, if I were going to say where I make the biggest mistakes is always in favoring the mission over the business.
Right. Yeah.
And so business discipline and prioritizing the business is not the temptation, but is for every operator, right? It has to be. And so we're always faced with bottom lines and making the payroll and
sometimes you can drive the operations guy nuts.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's one of those things that my dad was and is a crazy serial entrepreneur who never made any money and was never motivated by money at all. So when guys are starting colleges, they normally have more than $150 in their checking account. It's like when they're founding a college, when you're founding a denomination, the Association of Classical Christian Schools. Yeah. Everything that's come from that. And it's funny to me. People think that my dad must be incredibly wealthy because of everything that he's built, but it's always been mission. And before him, my grandfather he founded a bunch of Christian bookstores that gave books away.
I told Jeremy just a little bit about Jim.
So he gave a ton of books away. Well, he was all about giving books away, and he had this knack for knowing exactly how many books a store could give away without going under and dying. But all of his managers did not have that knack, and so he was constantly having to travel back in and then salvage this store and travel to this one and salvage this store, because that balance of the mission and eyes on the mission, but also pay your people, make budget. It's like do those. That's a really, really difficult thing. I think that as just a general rule, this is not necessarily true of everything. In our Sherwood Forest ecosystem, the Moscow, Idaho ecosystem of decentralized but sister businesses and ministries and so on.
Right.
I do think that we have sacrificed the business side more often than the mission, which then shortchanges the mission.
Yeah, for sure. You have to win.
You have the money for it.
But the flip side is I've seen it over and over and over again. As soon as that missional business is limping, intelligent operators, business guys come in who made a bunch of money selling flatware or mattresses. Yeah. And they come in and they're like, this is how it's done. Yeah. And the bottom line rules, and then the whole spirit goes out, the fire disappears.
Cynicism will destroy the whole thing.
Yeah, it's really strange. I think that don't fight the churn is a really interesting comment, because across years of Canon Plus and what we've been doing there, our churn's always been constant. Like it doesn't change. When people rally and try to boycott us, nothing happens. Like you couldn't actually.
There's no significant jump or
Yeah,
whatever.
we have
Yeah.
not had any incident that was large enough that you could know about it just by looking at the growth
Yeah.
and the churn rates and everything else.
Yeah.
But we do constantly find ourselves in that conversation of like, how do we stop the churn?
Yeah.
How do we? This churn exists. Wouldn't it be great if we could turn that off?
Yeah.
Like,
Sure.
it's a great word.
Great.
It's like, okay, that'd be great if you could turn it off, but that's not the goal. So I think with us, we've walked away, which I guess is exactly what you're saying, because that's a business mentality. That's a business solve. If we start focusing entirely on that instead of on advancing and hitting the next target. And
When God said, "Be fruitful and multiply," before sin even entered the world, He was calling us to optimism.
Yeah.
He was essentially saying you have to sow into an uncertain future in faith, believing that there's something better ahead. And there isn't always. I mean, catastrophe happens,
Yeah.
natural disaster happens. We live in a world of sin and death. And so we sometimes sow into the future and don't succeed. But we will never cynically and defensively approach the future and succeed. It's an imperfect
ever.
It's an imperfect system. It's not like every time you're optimistic you will win, but every time you're pessimistic you will lose. And to the extent that we've been given dominion and told to subdue the earth, to the extent that we've been told to be fruitful and multiply, we have to believe in the future. We have to believe that we can be bigger tomorrow than we were today, that we can do better tomorrow than we did today, that we can accomplish more tomorrow than we accomplished today, and live that way. Go do it.
So
That's great.
yeah, that's really good. I like that. Everything the landscape has just changed significantly the last 2 years.
Sure. Yeah.
And the 2 years before that, and the 2 years
And
before that.
Since probably Trump, really, it seems like every 4 years something's changing rapidly.
Well, tech too. So
Yeah.
Trump and tech.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But AI now and
My least favorite thing in the world.
innovation is happening. But also in so maybe just start here. I didn't vote for Trump in 2016, but I didn't vote for him like I didn't vote for Mitt Romney. I couldn't trust Mitt Romney. I just how was he pro-choice and then all of a sudden pro-life? Same with Trump. How was Trump in the 90s pro-choice and then all of a sudden pro-life and not knowing if there's any significant real conversion in his life that would help explain for it. But I just couldn't trust Trump. And so in 2016, I didn't vote for him. I watched the fight. I watched his media fight, which I was very grateful for. And in 2020, I voted for him. In 2024, I voted for him. But with the state of media, which is so funny because I think media, the conversation with media and the conversation with new conservatism or Trump magus, whatever, there's so much I think that's alike there that's going on. I'm grateful. I would also say and add to this, I told you my story about, getting arrested in 2020 that we had no voice. Actually, this has happened before 2020. One of the reasons why we started or really ramped up Canon Plus and why Pastor Wilson started his own blog is because evangelicalism had blacklisted us. So we were basically getting deplatformed from evangelicalism. And then so let's start our own publisher, or let's ramp up our own publisher. Doug starts his own blog. Let's and then podcasting came along 2016, 17. Everyone started their own podcasts here. And so we were able to kind of go around the man or whatever, the evangelical man. But that also became such the opportunity for conservative media like Daily Wire. It's Fox was kind of a sifter, a dead end. If you got through Fox, then maybe you got somewhere, kind of thing. But you just were so limited in so many ways to fight, and now it feels like everyone can fight. And now that everyone can fight, there's the Candace Owen fans, and then there's the Daily Wire fans, and then there's the it's like part of what's happened with media and the opportunities with media is caused the ability for a lot more fracturing to happen. It used to be you're Republican or Democrat.
That had its downsides.
And that had its downsides.
Yeah.
And you only had Fox News and NBC or CNN. You just had your representative markets. But even but now we have so many fracturing markets. I don't know. This kind of a big question. What I'm getting at. You understand what I'm saying?
We have the ability. We have a radically inflated, inflation of platforms. In terms of anyone can start talking. Anybody can jump on X and think of themselves as
An influencer.
influencers. They now have a channel and they need 24-hour programming, and everybody needs needs to know their take on everything. They feel an emotional burden to have a take on everything. Inside of that, you're always going to have weight classes. You're always going to have the Jeremy Morgan
the heavyweights.
Show. You're going to have Daily Wire. You're going to have Candace, who was very effective at pulling in all the day drinking moms and bots. And so she's wagging that dog.
Yep.
Specifically. But it is weird. I think there's kind of an odd dysfunction in conservatives specifically, where we do fracture and we do have a weird purity culture, and all the
death spiral.
Yeah, and different people have put those lines in different places, and so they have their lines where in 2016 you couldn't vote for Trump because of your purity scruples, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean those are wrong, just you had them, and I can't vote for this guy.
Yeah.
And all these different people have them, and so like conservatives can make it about head coverings, they can make it about education, they can make it about incrementalism versus abolitionism when it comes to abortion. And they're capable of fracturing and fighting over all sorts of things. It's like we're trying to land on the beaches of Normandy, and everybody's arguing with each other in the surf and throwing elbows.
I think there's two important things to say about that. One, a lot of the radical atomization is technological. We live in a moment where the ubiquity of social media makes it very difficult to create institutions, very difficult for institutions to thrive. And there is some good to that.
Yep.
We needed to get around the gatekeepers in 2015.
100%. Yep.
But a nation can't survive without gatekeeping. A nation is fundamentally
Nothing can. No institution can.
and a nation is fundamentally a group of people who come together and rally together around what they're willing to live for, fight for, and die for.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we call that basically culture. At the end of the day, the things that make us the same is culture. If we don't have one of those, then we aren't a nation. If we're not a nation, then we're not going to remain a nation. I mean, that's just like a tautology, right? You're doomed. So somehow we have to do what we're in the terrible situation that you sometimes find when a marriage starts to break up because the husband cheated. A marriage only works when a wife trusts her husband. The wife gives to the husband what the church gives to Christ, which is a kind of worship, and trust. And the husband gives to his wife what Christ gives to the church, which is love and sanctification, sacrifice to the point of redemption. See her as holy and unblemished, as it says in Ephesians. Well, those are very difficult things. Women don't want to give trust to a husband. Men don't want to give love and grace to a wife.
To the point of death.
To the point of death.
Yeah.
Both are called to do something that's sort of fundamentally, inherently against their natural
Against the flesh,
That's right. And so you end up in this situation where the great sort of paradox is that the wife is not called to trust the husband because he's trustworthy. She's called to trust the husband because that's relationally what she's supposed to do. But the strange paradox is husbands become trustworthy in response to the trust of their wives, and wives become lovable in response to the love of the husband. Again, in a fallen world, nothing works perfectly. Not every wife who trusts her husband gets a trustworthy husband.
But respect makes somebody more respectable, and love makes somebody more lovely, and that's just...
And the only way, there's no perfect way to get those things, but the only way you will ever get those things is by giving the part that you're supposed to give. And we're in a similar position. All of our institutions have fundamentally proven themselves untrustworthy.
Yep.
And yet the only way that the marriage can work has not changed. We have to trust in institutions. The wife who has the husband who cheated, the only way that marriage will ever be redeemed is if she trusts her husband, which I have so much sympathy for her. It is now virtually impossible.
And especially if the husband's unrepentant.
Right.
So if the institutions are unapologetic, unrepentant, then, good luck.
So what do? We have to trust in institutions again. The institutions have proven themselves to be untrustworthy. They're unrepentant, to your point. Well, the answer is we have to go occupy those institutions and reform them into institutions that can be trusted. This can be very difficult. The technological moment that we're in definitely cuts against us. But if we can't do it, then this entire exercise is for naught. We will not survive, not as a conservative movement, not fundamentally as a nation. If it's sort of every man for himself, everybody can go their own way. I believe in freedom. I want everyone to have the right to go their own way. But if we're going to have a nation, we all have to the one way that we're all choosing is they're going to have to come into some sort of cohesion.
So things are fracturing. I agree with you on the whole trust thing, big time. Like
Fractured, not even just fracturing.
Right.
Fully fractured.
Yeah.
One year, let's just say 11 months after the murder of Charlie Kirk, and into what looked like a cohesive, uniting telos, basically, of like the conservatives being like, oh, wow, like they want to kill us. And there was this unity. And then within days, the attacks began from Candace and others. And where we are now, we're fractured on Iran. We're fractured on foreign wars. We're like Shane Gillis. Everybody's like, well, I love Shane Gillis because he says retarded. And then Shane Gillis is called, so they like rally behind him. And then he's calling for universal health care.
Yeah.
And it's like, what are you doing, Shane? Like we're all over.
and then apparently
the place.
it's all the Jews' fault.
So but really it's like
Believe me, if there's anyone who wants us to have more health care, it's the Jews. Yeah. So just they're just wrong. Your assessment is incorrect.
Really very much. The thing that's odd is that it seems like liberals should be the cat people, but conservatives are. We are the cats.
What do you mean by that?
We are just cats everywhere. Cat ladies and cat personalities and scattering cats everywhere. You cannot hurt us.
Yeah.
Everybody's hissing and scratching and fighting, and it's truly bizarre. But I think your point about people disintegrates if you don't have that ability to trust. If a wife cannot trust her husband, the marriage is over.
Yeah.
That's right.
In actuality, whether or not you
There's
dissolve
divorce or not,
formally.
right.
And we are absolutely in that situation as a people relating to our cities, our states, our federal government.
That's where I was going to go. Yeah.
And so Trump at the top, we've all watched what you want to call it, the deep state. It's actually people. We've watched people try to sabotage him and take him out who are his subordinates.
Yeah.
We have watched a bullet graze his ear. We have seen.
Oh, you're one of those guys.
Sure.
You believe?
But I'm
you
just
believe
saying,
in the assassination attempt at Butler.
It doesn't even.
He believes in it.
I believe that it happened.
Yes.
But at the same time, prior to that, indictments.
Yeah.
You know, it's like impeachments.
Yeah.
Like we've seen
FBI raiding his house.
Yeah, we've seen the Comey with his 86, all that like petty, stupid stuff. But we have watched. We can't trust the institutions that we are subordinate to, but our leader cannot trust the institutions who are subordinate to him.
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
And we're in this weird mistrust sandwich, if you will, of like from the very, very top to the very bottom, and the middle is the completely untrustworthy rebellion,
bureaucracies,
the manipulations, the illegal immigration, the ballot box stuffing, like all of the stuff that's been used to control both sides, the top and the bottom.
That's helpful.
It's all running in the middle. So when you talk about taking the institutions, I agree. But we did. You know, it's like at the top.
No, we didn't.
Well, this in terms of what people think.
Yeah.
Like we got to the highest office.
We got the president
land, right?
and the House.
Voting is an incredibly important thing that we do in our country. It is hardly the only thing that we're responsible for in our country.
Absolutely.
And a major problem that Republicans have generally, conservatives have generally, that the left is better than us at. They are more correct than us, is that they understand that you have responsibilities beyond your vote. They don't believe that you can show up once every 4 years, elect the guy that the New York Times hates, and that's going to fix all of your problems, and then go right back to doing your own thing.
Yeah, you also have to burn Minneapolis.
I wouldn't quite
destroy Seattle and Portland.
I wouldn't quite endorse that. No, but
you're a leftist.
No, but that's part of their action, right?
But that is not every part of their action. I'm not endorsing the whole program.
No, I'm just saying.
I feel like you're defending him at this point.
Yeah, guys.
Go ahead. Sorry, I was interrupting you.
No.
I want to finish your thought.
You just ruined the point.
So the point is
if
more than voting.
If you go to TPUSA to their PAC or their C4 that does a TPUSA action, I believe it's called, the one that does the sort of get out the vote program. You know, they'll show you how many people you have to deploy just to change the outcome of an election in Phoenix.
Yeah.
And it's I can't say off the top of my head what the number is, but it's like thousands of people.
Yeah, it's a lot of people.
It's an unbelievable number of people just to
big effort.
And they'll go, we're the first we're the first conservative group to organize whatever the number, I'm going to make these up, 5,000 people in living memory, this has never happened. We've mobilized 5,000 people in Phoenix. And you go, wow, that's unbelievable. How many people has the left organized? And I said, well, they have 28,000 in Michigan alone. And then they do that in every single state. And you go, oh, yeah, we don't understand that we also have to do.
Yep.
That we have to always be doing. It's so difficult to get conservatives to do because of
freedom and every man doing what's right in his own eyes.
Yeah. Well, because of that, and because our we're not organized around the idea of fundamental radical change. We're not revolutionaries.
Yeah.
And the left is revolutionary. They actually are trying to tear down what was.
Yeah. Tearing down is much easier too.
Tearing down is much easier. And so, I just think that I'm big on human agency. I'm big on we can, and since we can, we should, and since we should, we must. And I think that that's really almost every problem in conservatism comes down to failing to really appreciate that.
Okay, so I feel like we've been really negative.
I want to ask you a question real quick.
Yeah.
Just before you move on. We'll be positive in a minute.
Yeah. That's
so your point about taking institutions, which I think is critical. I think it's a really, really good observation. One of the things that we've experienced, and hopefully that others have experienced as well, is the importance of forming institutions. So whether it is a business like Daily Wire, you had a little squadron of tanks. Mm-hmm. You had an offensive weapon that was formed that had a hierarchy that had the ability to call plays and run plays and so on.
I mean, Michael Knowles was a squirt gun, but no, I'm just kidding. Hopefully he hears that. Let's clip that.
But you have that, but then you also, over where we were, the church, denominations, our denomination, the Community of Reformed Evangelical Churches, issued a religious exemption vaccine statement that ended up being used across many denominations, but it was key for my son at Columbia, where he was fighting, where a very, very small handful of kids ended up allowed to be there without being vaxxed. And a small group of parents were put on a Zoom with the head of Columbia Medicine to be yelled at by this Catholic guy who scolded us all for being murderers. But it was bizarre, but without an institution to fight back. So schools, the formation of faithful schools, the formation of faithful churches, which are also institutions, businesses, which will resist and use their resources to resist. We have all these things. These institutions are key, but at the same time, we don't have a coherent hierarchy between them.
Well, there are two different kinds of people in this regard. There are people who are entrepreneurial, who are founders, who I guess are sort of like sadomasochists, like they take on enormous amounts of pain. Our culture is one of the only cultures left in the world that sort of looks up to or has any sort of glorification of people who create.
And suffer to do so.
And that's really important. And that isn't everyone.
Yeah.
While it is a very good thing, and it's good that we appropriately as a society still revere that, if you are not the kind of person who's going to take on that kind of pain, that's okay too. It doesn't ameliorate any of your responsibilities. Some people need to go be a part of institutions.
Yeah.
Maybe you're not going to start the CPTA, the Conservative Parent Teacher Association. Go be in the PTA then, or go be in the CPTA. That's not an easy one. Don't start that. Go be in that when somebody else does start it. Support the people who are doing the things that you believe in, or go occupy the thing that used to do the thing that you believe in. Both of those are really important functions. You occupy the institutions, and creating institutions are both, I think, really vital.
I think also right now, that's a great word, is be part of and support institutions.
Yep.
And trust them. Mm-hmm. That's what you're talking about, that relationship. Have trust and don't become purity culture perfectionists.
That's right.
But do trust them. And I think one of the ways you can do this right now is go find that Christian school that passed the test during COVID, that never, ever, even barely bent a knee to woke. Like, go find those people. We have recent wars. We have very recent
where you could see
where you could go see, like, did this church kiss the ring of woke? Did this institution compromise?
Yep.
Then don't go don't go wed yourself to that just right away.
But even if Toby calls an institution proto-woke, you should still buy its razors.
Which we did.
You should
Which
still
we
buy its razors.
did. We did. I wanted to ask that question, but
so the thing is,
we should. I want to circle back around that. Maybe it's a different show, but yeah.
but that actually also goes to purity culture too.
Yep.
In terms of like,
The
okay,
purity culture is a death spiral.
whenever you have any line, and there are lines that cannot be crossed or ought not to be crossed, but at what point do we start disfellowshipping like a bunch of Jehovah's Witnesses over
happens,
it?
Yeah.
Because this as an author.
But this is the conversation I like.
This is what actually takes place. If you cheat on your wife, not once, not twice, not repentantly, but forever, as a lifestyle,
Just abusive and awful.
If you engage in gluttony and greed, if you get drunk and get into altercations with police officers, that's fine. That's great, as long as you're nice to Christians. This is the opinion of all Christians toward Hollywood.
Yeah.
If anyone in Hollywood, and you cannot imagine the lifestyle, whoever your favorite guy in Hollywood is, I probably got 20 stories.
Right, same.
I got
Same.
So does Nate.
You don't have any idea the reality of Gomorrah, how much it's Gomorrah by the sea, as Don Henley calls it. But if they even give a grin toward Christians, you'll invite them to speak in your church.
Immediately.
But if you use the word "damn" in one of your novels, you're going to be boycotted by like 80%.
Full disclosure, I have.
Yeah. I know. That's why you can't afford. You don't put business as a high priority. No, but that's it. Like our side allows this sort of. It's not just that we're engaged in a purity death spiral. It's that we're selectively engaged in a purity death spiral. We only apply any of these unwinnable, untenable standards internally. We don't apply any of these standards. I would say this forever. If I make a movie, anytime I make a movie, people on our side are angry about, no matter what it is, they're going to find 20 things to be mad about. They all go home and watch Game of Thrones. I know because I can just look at the ratings. I know they go home and watch Game of Thrones. They won't allow us to even tell truth in art. I'm speaking hyperbolically. They won't allow us to tell truth in art very often, and they'll support the very, very worst things as long as it comes from the machine itself.
The weirdest part about all this, yes, you're 100% right, and you've run into it a ton of times. I've run into it a ton of times. The fact is that I work with Angel. I don't have, my line is not where their line is. It just isn't. I work with Netflix. My line isn't where Netflix's line is, right? Mm-hmm. I'm in Babylon, Gomorrah by the Sea, working with those people. I'm also working with alt media, with the Daily Wire, with Angel, and so on other things. But the place I cannot work, to what Gabe has said earlier, is the evangelical ecosystem.
That's right.
I am not allowed to work there.
Yeah.
No.
Because I am a Christian, have always been a Christian. I'm over here fighting. If I were an absolute dirtbag and had been an absolute dirtbag
and had the exact same
and had a 20-year career of dirtbaggery, I then came out on Twitter supporting Trump or currently just supporting Sophie Cunningham, the right would just grab me and elevate me immediately. But right. Because my dad once said something that shocked and scandalized people, I'm even generationally blacklisted inside of the evangelical ecosystem, which is really, really funny.
That gives me two more answers to your what lessons did you learn. One of them is you have to build institutions. And so like right now I'm doing the Jeremy Boring show because that's, when you go through a separation like I've gone through with the Daily Wire, you go through a term after that where you're limited in some of the choices.
You have your non-compete.
You get it. Non-disclosure.
But the Jeremy Boring show is not my aspiration. It's a part of the vision that I have for what I want to do with the next chapter of my life.
Which comes to our big third act of this conversation.
One must build institutions. To just be a guy with a show. That's not the way. Western man can't be saved by a guy with a show. And the second one is you cannot, there's a parasocial relationship that exists, and it exists in both directions. Every person who thinks a good idea is to put a microphone in front of their own lips or to put a camera in front of their own face has some narcissistic tendencies, every one of us.
I don't.
Some of us have narcissistic personality disorders.
Some of us beg the neither.
Every one of us has some ego that allows us to do what we do to put ourselves out there the way that we put ourselves out there. And so what the audience gives us matters a great deal to us. And so the audience gets power over us. Similarly, the audience sees us very often as avatars for their own beliefs, avatars for their own values. We're fighting the war that they don't feel that they're empowered to fight. And so they develop a parasocial relationship with us. And so in both directions, audience capture works in both directions. And there is a founding philosophy, it goes far back pre-America, but I think it was really encapsulated in our founding answer to this, which is called Republicanism. And in Republicanism, you're neither a populist nor an elitist. You neither do what the mob wants, nor do you rule over the mob.
We have the House of Representatives where you're supposed to be wagged by the mob, and then we have...
And ultimately what you're supposed to do is live in the center of an irreconcilable tension between representing the people and leading the people. And that creates constant tension. And sometimes you err too far one way and it creates populism. Sometimes you err too far the other way and it empowers elitism. But that doesn't mean that there are no perfect systems. There's no ism that's going to save you.
Yep.
This tension is where we're supposed to live. And as the creator, your job is to live in a place where your audience believes that you represent them and feels constantly challenged by you.
Yeah.
If they only love you, then now
You're doomed.
You can only let them down.
Yep.
You will only fail them in their purity standard because they've projected onto you them, and you are not them. So you will never be able to give them what they want. And you will never get what you want from them. They will constantly pull you out of your own core convictions. And this is sort of maybe a different way of saying putting the business ahead of the mission. You'll find yourself compromising on behalf of the audience all the time. And both of those are part of the purity death spiral. You actually have to find a way to be comfortable, never getting everything that you want from the audience and never giving the audience everything that it wants from you.
Yeah, and art, ultimately, powerful art, elevates and leads. It is not what the fans wanted.
That's right.
There's fan service, and then there's creation that requires them to follow.
But there is forsaking them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's wrong.
Absolutely. So there's betraying them, there's betraying what you've done before. And it is funny to me how you can have guys in Hollywood who have made horrible, horrible things, like just really bad things. And then they throw that bone to the audience and just watching this even jelly support flock to them as if they'll never be betrayed.
Yeah.
While parsing and fighting with conservatives.
So when you
very, very tiny things.
When you support institutions on our side, don't put your faith in them. Put your trust in them.
Yeah.
Don't put your faith in them. Don't expect perfection from them. Afford them the amount of grace that's necessary for all people doing anything in this world. That doesn't mean that you allow them to become the thing that you hate. Of course not. You can't. But you do have to guard, I think, in yourself. You have to guard, as a consumer, you have to guard yourself against expecting what's created to perfectly represent you. It can't.
Yeah.
I said it at lunch a bit ago that if a works-based salvation is the way, at most one human being could ever be saved. You'll never find one other person who agrees with you on 100% of things. So if being correct is the actual prerequisite, if God's just waiting for the one guy to get it right, then I think he'll never get any guy, but he'll at best get one guy.
One of the things I think is strange, I love sports for a lot of reasons, but
because you got two good eyes. So.
Yeah, for two eyes. But I like the lessons available. I like I think G.K. Chesterton was Catholic because he thought the outfits were funny. Like I think he liked the strangeness of it. Now he's also a sentimentalist. I love the guy, but I love
he's a Calvinist now.
Yeah, I love the weird sociological phenomenon that we are this species that takes our young out to run in a circle against the young of other villages to see whose young is fastest. And then we have all these like controlled parameters for rules. And like if you envision us as ants, and the little ants have to go out there, it's like, go Johnny, you have to run faster, work harder, like puke in the trash can to the little ones. And we also release tension between towns and regions with, these lightning rods of like rivalries and so on. It's weird. But the thing that I find strange is when I do something, and I started publishing in like 2007 was my first novel, and I've never read reviews. Mm-hmm. My wife does, and every now and then she makes me listen to one, or she makes me look at one or something.
Nate's real prickly.
Yeah, I want to, that relationship, that dynamic is interesting because also reviews are not the masses. Reviews are one individual person who thinks they have content, but I've never done that. But the thing that's weird to me is when I do get word, when people are mad at me about something, when they're upset, and I'm sitting here kind of standing on the football field where it's like, we're running plays. We're trying to win. We're fighting to win. And there's an odd moment when people who are supposedly your supporters and supposedly rooting for you and supposedly trying to help you and cheer for you and chant on third downs and all that kind of stuff, instead turn on you.
Yeah.
And when they turn on you, there should have been more than that play didn't work as well as I think it should have. You never should have won run a sweep right. That should have been a trips left, but what? It's just this odd thing of like the play calling wasn't exactly what they wanted. And so they burned the jersey in the stands, which is a really odd way. You were never on my team. You were never supportive. Now, if I did some horrible act of treason down here, if I knock over my own quarterback and cause us to lose, I understand them being mad at me. But when you're just running plays and in the fight, it is really weird to me, this weird toxic attack.
When you're the man in the arena.
Yeah.
You say you don't read the bad reviews, and I've always been that way.
No, don't read the good ones either.
Yeah, people don't believe me. I've read a bunch of nice comments since I started the Jeremy Boring Show, and that's really been a novel experience because I've stayed out of the comments the whole time I've been in public life. I think you guys have had a few criticisms for me over the years, and I didn't know about them when I said yes to doing the show.
Did Joel bring you up to speed?
I've only ever agreed with you 100% completely on everything, right?
I love you. Joel was like, oh, yeah, there was this. I'm like, really? Me, whom everyone loves? Because nothing good comes of it, because it changes. You cannot help but now start trying to serve other people's view of how things should be instead of your own. And I think that it is one of the great temptations of the creator is to get lost in that. You have to be your own. You have to be consistent to your own values if you're going to put values out into the world, or you're going to put someone else's values out into the world, which makes you basically a slave.
So the thing is, and I taught rhetoric at New Sanders College forever, and the difference between
We've all taught rhetoric.
Sophistry, like a real, like a manipulative sophistry, and actual faithful communication is one that does not really look at outcomes. It pursues outcomes without measuring success by outcome, which is a really weird thing. So if you think about the Apostle Paul preaching, if he measured success by whether or not there was a revival or a riot, by whether or not they stoned him or all repented, then he would look at all these amazing acts of faithfulness. Some of his most faithful communication there were those times when he's speaking to a crowd that's now going to try to kill him.
That's right.
And so if we start to measure our success based on whether or not the crowd loves us,
which, by the way,
we are dead.
That's when the sort of natural narcissistic tendencies that anyone in public life has, when that becomes an actual narcissistic personality.
They want the crowd in front of them to cheer them on.
This is when Candace says, when someone has a criticism for Candace Owens, and she says, look at the numbers. Imagine if Paul used that as his standard when he was.
Yeah, it's amazing. And so we see Paul wants the revival. He wants the repentance, and he is running his play and his communication to try to achieve that.
And sometimes they get lower basket over the city wall.
He's heaping condemnation because it's further light that they're sinning against. And so when he is stoned and left for dead, when he is being smuggled out, that is not a rhetorical failure.
That's right.
He was faithful in his communication.
Right.
And so when we're out there trying to communicate, there could be times somebody could have critiques. I could be out there in the man in the arena, or Paul could be out there preaching, and somebody could say, I have a note. I think you had a run-on sentence there. And if we look at the writing of Paul, he did. Yeah. The man was king of run-on sentences. Mm-hmm. Like
I modeled my writing after him.
Yeah. So if somebody could have a criticism of him, but it is bizarre, it's just truly bizarre to try to separate over it, or to be in his shoes and start to gauge popularity as the measure of faithful communication. So the reason why I didn't read reviews was because I believed at the very, very start that the positive ones would probably be more seductive and dangerous. Given my own personality, if people hated me, I would be fine, and I would probably turn into.
It doesn't bother you.
I would just turn into a naughty, transgressive author who was just trying to irritate people.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
So,
I see that.
My wife read those things, but the ones that are like over the top, or somebody's really grateful, or they're fawning, those are kind. You can be grateful for them. I'm grateful every time somebody's trying to share content or spread content. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
But that's a hook. That is a hook in me if I pay too much attention to that.
Yeah.
If I start measuring it, be like, oh well, Mary Jo in Iowa, she loved my last 3 books, but this one she didn't like. Oh no.
I lost Mary Jo.
I lost Mary Jo.
I got to wrap this up because Jeremy's got to go, and then maybe if you guys stay around, have a cigar with us at our house. I think Nate can come, Pastor Doug, stuff. I'd love to chase some of this stuff down a lot more, but you got to go to another show. So I'm just going to end it right here. Hey, until next week, love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love your neighbor yourself. Go fight, laugh, and feast. I just broke my pen, and this is CrossPolitic. Thank you.